In tip 11, I want to talk about another formation that the defense can't defend, and that's the 3-by-1 spread formation. And the only reason that the word spread is attached to this 3-by-1 is that there's no tight end lined up in this formation. I want to go over a list of reasons why you would consider the 3-by-1 and how effective it is. And then I'll go in and I'll draw up the plays, the run plays and the pass plays that I feel like can take advantage of the defense, because you can know exactly where they're lined up and how to attack once they're lined up versus your 3-by-1. Okay? The first reason is you can't get numbers to all three areas. So the three areas I defined are outside the left tackle is a pass area, outside the right tackle is a pass area, and then in the middle between the tackles is the run area. And as you might have seen in other videos that I've done, the defense has to pick the numbers that they want versus the pass in the left and the right side and the run. And if you pick a formation where they can't get numbers to all three areas, then it's really simple to know which area to either run the ball or to pass the ball. And so that's one of the advantages of 3-by-1, because it doesn't allow them to get numbers to all three areas. The second thing is I split the receivers out maximally to separate defenders. In other words, when you look down here, when the ball's on the left hash, I always put the trips to the field side, okay? And the number 3 receiver is going to be in the middle of the field. The number 2 receiver will be on the hash, and the number 1 receiver will be at the top of the numbers. So we've split the defenders out maximally. And then over to the boundary, the X will be in the middle of the numbers, okay? So we're going to split them out in order to separate the defenders. And what I found is these guys from the top of the numbers to the hash is 9 yards. So that's a long way for them to communicate. And then from the hash to the middle of the field is another 9 yards. So these two are separated by 18 plus yards, and they're all separated by 9 yards. And it's hard for them to communicate with regard to the distance that they have, because we've spread them out maximally, particularly to the field side. Okay? The third reason is I use what I call my 5-wide principle. So my offense I call the 5-wide, and the reason I call it that is because I send 5 receivers out every single time. I rarely have the running back pass protect. He might do that if we do play action, but the normal rule is every single receiver, eligible receiver that I have, receivers and running backs, they go out in the pass route. And what this does is it makes the defense decide what to rush or pass defend. In other words, if they rush 4, that means they're going to have 7 people playing my 5 receivers. If they choose to rush 5, they're only going to have 6 defensive backs playing my 5 receivers. And then if they want to rush 6, because remember, we have 5 protectors. So if they rush 4 or 5, we can block that fairly easily. So the only way they can get an advantage in the rush is to rush 6. And if they rush 6, they only have 5, and basically they have to play man coverage. So simply by sending all 5 receivers out, I can see what they want to defend, whether they want to rush the passer or they want to defend the pass, just by looking at the numbers that they have. And that's one of the advantages that a 3-by-1 formation gives you. Okay? The other thing it does, it makes the coverage very clear. In other words, when you see a cover 2, which is 2 safeties deep, you know right away you're going to throw to the field because you're going to be 3 on 3. Okay? If it's cover 3, or if you see a safety in the middle of the field, you know you're going to throw to the boundary because it's going to be 1-on-1. And that works every single time. So if you want to teach your quarterback to be able to come to the line and decide whether he's going to throw the route combinations to the field or the boundary, it's a really easy thing to teach him. Because in a 3-by-1, it's very clear that way all the time. And then when you go up here and you split your wide receivers out maximally, it's very easy for him to tell, because once again, the distance between the secondary defenders is so great that it's easy for the quarterback to see, and it's very easy for the play caller to see. okay? Another reason is 3 wide receivers always to the field, and the running back always goes to the boundary side. So you'll see these 3 receivers are to the field, the X is in the boundary, and the A is the running back is into the boundary side where he lines up, okay? One of the reasons I do that is it keeps the 2-man combo routes intact. In other words, the X and the A have 2-man route combos that work really well together. So I like to keep them together in this particular instance. And then the BZW stay together because they have 3-man route combinations that work really well together. You can mix them up, and I have done that in the past, but initially when I teach this offense, and I've taught it to 4 or 5 high schools and mentored a whole bunch of other ones, you leave them together so the quarterback knows and can memorize the route concepts. So that's one of the things of keeping the running back into the boundary side so he can run his 2-man route combos with the X, okay? The other thing is the running back to the boundary side, it really protects the boundary blitz. In other words, if they want to blitz the will linebacker, he's got to decide if he blitzes, all we have to do is take the running back and run a swing route, an out route, or a seam, and if he comes, the running back's going to be wide open, okay? The other thing we know that if this free safety starts to walk over, then we know something is happening on the boundary side. And once again, because up here, I always release the running back, the quarterback knows if he gets any boundary blitz, then he's simply going to turn and find the running back and throw it to him, okay? Because he knows that running back would have a route where somebody that's blitzed is leaving a space open, okay? The other thing is it's easy to identify the blitzer. He can only come from the number side. And once again, you know in cover 2 you're going to throw the field, but in cover 2 it's a boundary blitzer because right here they're 2-on-1, so the free safety could come, the corner could come, but they would tell you because if the corner's going to come, the free safety would walk over to take the X man-to-man. If the will's going to come, then the free safety cheats down and you know the will's coming. So you can identify where the blitzer is simply by coming to the line and using your cover 2 and your cover 3 where you're reads where you're going to throw from. So in cover 2 you know the blitz is from the boundary. In cover 3 you know it's from the field because we have 3 receivers and they have 4 defensive backs. Once again, if they're going to blitz from the field and the Sam's coming, you'll see the free safety come down and then you know they're going to have to play man in those situations. So this gives you an overview of how this formation can make it very simple for you to be able to identify where to attack the defense and also give you an idea of some of the things that you would do if they were going to blitz you, where that blitz is coming from and what you would have as alternative to be able to get them out of being able to blitz you. Let's take a look at the different defenses and coverages that you can see using a 3-by-1 formation and how you can easily identify what the coverage is, what area to attack, and where the blitzer can come from. The first thing I want you to understand is this is a hash formation, meaning in high school 75% of the game is played on a hash mark. So offensively we want to have a formation that takes advantage of the wide side of the field because it is extremely wide. In fact, from the left hash to the sideline is 36 yards. So, and vice versa from the right hash to the left sideline. So we want to take advantage of spreading out the defenders that have to cover the pass into this 36-yard area. So having a 3-by-1 formation where there's no tight end to the field really gives you the opportunity to spread the defense out. And that's the whole point of what people are calling a spread offense. So in this first defensive formation, this is a 4-3 cover 2. And we talked about earlier that it's easy to identify where to attack because anytime they're in 2 deep, you want to go to the field side for your passing attack because it's 3-on-3. The other thing to see is that there's only 5 in the box. And you're going to see that as a common theme as 5 in the box when we go through the different coverages and fronts that they play. All right? So going to a 3-4 cover 3, we now still have 5 in the box okay? And then we have this rover in a run and pass conflict. So what happens is the corners obviously move back to play their 1/3 zone. The safety moves in the middle, and then that basically takes the rover and puts him as a flat defender. And so they can still be 1-on-2 over into this boundary area, but he's also needs to be involved in the run. So play action works really well. When you play action this running back, that can open up this outside flat area for this X to be able to run comebacks and speed outs and curls and things of that nature, because it puts this rover in a pass run conflict. But once again, cover 3, you're still going to get 5 in the box. They cheat the rover in to make it 6. And we know that in this particular scenario that the blitz is coming from the field side, because this is where they're 3-on-4. The same as just up here in this area. We know that they're 1-on-2 or 2-on-1 on this side in terms of the defense. So the blitz is coming from one of these 3 people. All right? If we go over here and look at cover 4, where they're going to play 4 straight across, what happens what we have here is when they choose to do that, there's 5 underneath zones, but they only have 3 defenders to defend those 5 underneath zones. And you can see the open areas that exist in regard to the underneath zones to be able to attack with your 5 receivers, because as I mentioned, we send 5 out every time. Now when they play cover 4, they can get 6 in the box. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 5 defenders and a running back, and I've always considered that to be 6-on-6. So what I've coached my guys is, if we get 6 in the box and we decide to run it, there's a reason that we teach you to keep your pads down, because if for some reason we ran inside zone and we didn't block the will, I would expect the running back just to run him over and get us 3 or 4 yards. So even though there's 6 in the box and we have 5 in a running back, we still have an advantage to be able to run the ball and get 3 or 4 yards, as long as that running back lowers his shoulders and understands there may be an unblocked defender, okay? With that in mind, we always will block the line of scrimmage. We're never going to let any of the defensive linemen or defensive ends come clean so that we get a negative yard play. But in cover 4, you can see that we have 3 receivers, 4 defenders, so this is the primary blitz guy. It could be the free safety. But once again, anytime they blitz in any of these scenarios, they're going to have to play man to the side of the blitz, okay? Last scenario we have is we have 4-3 cover 1, and this is, they want to double the X. Now I want to let you know that I have seen all of these types of defenses and coverages over my 20 plus years of running this offense. I didn't run this offense originally when I first started coaching. I was in the wing tee, the I, the power I, etc. But once we became more efficient at the quarterback in terms of athletic ability, and we became spread, and I use this, I'm showing you things that I've actually seen and played against and coached against and called plays against. And this was one of the things that they did because we had a really good X receiver, that is, in order to double the X, they took the rover and put him back here as a safety, and they played man across the board, okay? But when they do this, once again, they only have 5 in the box, and we really like that. To be able to run against. So they're choosing to play us in the pass and defend our pass, and they want to double the X, so they took the rover and put him back here in order to double the X and play man-to-man, okay? The other thing I like about this when they do this is our B practice being a receiver all the time. I don't do running back drills. I don't think it's very difficult to have a running back learn to take a handoff and a quarterback to hand it off. I think that's something that once they do that, it becomes a personal pride thing in terms of, hey, we don't fumble. We put the ball in the running back's stomach, he takes it, and we go. So my running backs, which are the A and the B, they go with the receivers and they run pass routes the whole time and catch passes. So this matchup of RB on this linebacker is a really good matchup for us, particularly if they're going to play man-to-man, okay? The other question we have is when they try to go to man-to-man is, how much man-to-man coverage have they practiced? Most high school teams don't play man-to-man. They may have a little bit of it, but to practice it extensively, most high school teams won't do that. And most defensive coordinators are leery about doing man-to-man, because if we break a run here against this 5-man box, there's 4 guys that are not a possibility to make a play. So what I've experienced over the years is most high school programs don't play man-to-man and are leery about playing it because of the lack of the run support and the people that they have to be able to make a tackle if you break the box. Okay? The other thing about when they play man-to-man is, do they really have 2 good corners? I haven't found a lot of defenses that have 2 defenders as corners that are good enough to play both of our receivers. So what happens is they end up forcing them to play one of these zone coverages, which we really like, and it makes it easy for us to read where to attack. Here it's 3-on-4, so we'd like to throw the ball to the X. Here it's 3-on-4, so we'll throw to the boundary. Here it's 2-on-1, so we'll throw the ball to the field. Okay? But in all the scenarios, notice 5 in the box, 5 in the box, 6 in the box, 5 in the box. So the theme I want you to see in not only this video on the 3x1, but in the tip number 10, when we did the Twins Pro, is that you're really helping out the offensive line and your running game in terms of controlling the box. Okay? So that's one of the advantages where I say formations that defenses can't defend, is that you're giving your running game an opportunity to be really successful by controlling the box with formations that make it difficult for them to be able to defend the run and the pass. So let's talk about some run plays and how we would block the front that we're going to get when we're in our 3x1 spread. So the first play that we're going to talk about is inside zone, and I've got drawn up here 4-3 cover 2 defense. Okay? So in this particular case, we are going to run this at the 3 technique, and that allows us to have angles for all our offensive linemen, so that we can leave the defender in the gap but block him. So the right guard's going to step with his left foot, his right foot, put his face on the inside armpit breastplate, and keep the 3 technique in the B gap. The right tackle will do the same thing. Left foot, right foot, put his face on the inside armpit breastplate, and keep the 5 technique in this C gap. Okay? The center's going to step with his right foot in the play side. He's going to climb and hunt the linebacker. Hunt means that he's going to allow the linebacker to go wherever he wants and just take him. Okay? The left guard is going to cut his split down, and he's going to aim for the opposite armpit breastplate of this shade technique. Okay? I never worry about them reading the split of our offensive linemen. All I care about is that guard get in a position where he can get to the far armpit breastplate of that shade. Okay? Because we want him blocked. The left tackle is going to do an 18-inch cutoff, okay? Our rule is we always block the line of scrimmage first. So for some reason, when he takes his step with his right foot, if he sees that 5 technique is going to stump that gap, he's going to block him. That's why it's drawn like this. If that 5 technique is going to stay in the C gap, then he'll climb and he'll hunt the will linebacker, all right? We know we have 6 in the box. We're not going to block one of them, and that's going to either be the will or the 5 technique, just depending on what they try to do on the backside, how they play that. Okay? The running back's going to shuffle over. He does not. Running back shuffles to midline when the quarterback catches the snap. So he sits there until the quarterback touches it, then he shuffles over, takes the handoff, and he's heading down the midline. All right? So these are all basically midline runs. And the reason we do that is these 2 5 techniques, when you run the midline, really are not a factor in the run game. The only way they can be a factor is if they just dive bomb your running back when you don't block the 5 technique. But our rule is we're always going to block the 5 technique or the line of scrimmage first if he's going to do that. Okay? So that's midline, inside zone, running the midline. Okay? You might say, well, you didn't block everybody, you leave somebody unblocked. And as I mentioned earlier, we believe it's 6 on 6 because the running back knows if he encounters an unblocked linebacker, then you got to run him over. So that's why we will block the line of scrimmage first. If we leave a second level linebacker go, number one, you're assuming if you don't block him that he's going to be able to fit correctly in his gap. There's plenty of times where this linebacker will overrun it. The shade starts running toward the A gap and he just cuts it all the way back. So he has a 2-way cut that we feel really comfortable that we can block it this way and be very successful, and we've done that. Okay? As I mentioned earlier, I always run a pass route with a run play so that I can gather information to be able to tell the quarterback and give him a hint as to who he should throw to. So in this particular instance, I picked the 1 route. And what I do is I try to pick a route that's going to influence any second level defender, any DB, to slow down his run support. Because we know that they're pass first, and then this particular Sam linebacker is a run pass player. Okay? So if I take this B and run our 1 route, he has a seam or inside takeoff. This should hold that linebacker from coming in to the box from being a run support player. Okay? I know the corner will distract the strong safety, and I also know the corner will also can hold this corner. So I can take that corner route by the Z and hold 2 players. All right? So the only guy that probably would be able to get into the run game would be this free safety. And if we can get to the 3rd level and attack him, then we're perfectly happy with that. But this allows me to develop not just the inside zone, but also develop a play action. So if I see this Sam peeking or watching this handoff, then I'll call play action and throw to him. So I'm trying to build in a run and a play action pass off of that run. All right? I don't do RPOs, I mentioned that earlier, because I don't want the quarterback reading it. I read that, and then I will tag that B and tell him, hey, that Sam linebacker's peeking, so we'll throw that route. So that's how I build a run play with a good play action off of it, by picking routes that will hold secondary defenders from coming in the box. All right? The second core play that I run is counter. Once again, it's a midline run, and what we're going to do here is we're going to block back with the center. He's going to aim for his inside armpit breastplate because we want to keep that 3 technique in that gap. We're going to double down on the shade. So the right guard has the far armpit breastplate of that shade. Okay, he's leaving the near breastplate, armpit, shoulder for the left tackle. So once he's engaged, it's the left tackle's job to move this all the way across the midline, this double team, to get the shade to the midline. Then the left tackle comes off and he blocks the mic. He would release earlier off his double if the mic starts flowing over the top faster. The right guard has what we call pull and kick out. He pulls, he finds the rear end of the center, and he's going to run as tight as he can off of that. And when I teach it, I have him touch it so I know it's really tight. And what that does, it prevents any run through. Okay? So then he's going to run into the line, and he's going to fan out and block the inside armpit breastplate and kick the 5 technique out. If for some reason the 5 technique was going to try to log that, because of our path is in the line of scrimmage and fanning out, we should be able to dig him out. Okay? The backside tackle has what we call pull and paddle. He will follow the inside hip of the right guard, and he will pull and then he's going to run as tight as he can off of this wall. So what we should have is we should have a little wall that's being built so that this whole thing ends up over here as a wall, okay? And that will allow our running back to run straight down the midline once he gets the ball, okay? So the right tackle paddles his way down the wall, and then finds the will linebacker and hunts him or kicks him out, all right? You'll notice that we don't block this 5 technique, okay? We just let him go, and people will say, well, if he starts dive bombing us and he can get to that midline, all right, then we have an opportunity to be able to take him, and we would just run inside zone to keep him there. But we would also say that, all right, well now, if we're going to play action pass, we could actually pull it and run a sprint out pass. So that's the answer to if the 5 technique's going to dive bomb us with regard to that. We would just pull that and run a boot and run some type of pass over here, okay? So off of this counter action, I would run my 4 route. And one of the reasons is the B has an arrow out, and that will hold the Sam linebacker because he sees his eyes would take him to the arrow out. We would hold the strong safety with running an in, and then the corner's running a takeoff. This is 4-3 cover 3, just to give you an example, since we've already shown you what the coverages they could play against 3-by-1. So I'm going to get information also on how the corner would play the post on the backside X. So I can get information and hold the secondary once again, and now I have 2 pass routes that I've been able to discern how they want to play those. All right? 2 other run play blocking options would be trap and outside zone. I didn't use those a lot, but I would always practice things that I felt like down the line I might need. Once we got good at these 2 core runs, then I would start practicing some of these other blocking schemes that I felt like would fit defensive fronts that we could use in that particular instance. So for example, if we get the 5 technique coming down hard, we could always go and run trap. Now trap is a better look against a 3-4, okay? But we could still run that here and just block down on the 3 technique and trap the 5. So I have something in the arsenal to be able to take care of this problem down here. But over here, we would simply take the right tackle, he goes to the mic, we then do double on the shade, and he goes to the will. We block the 5 technique and on the backside with the left tackle, and then the left guard is going to pull. He's going to be the pull and kick out man. He runs tight off of that wall. He kicks out the 5 technique, and once again, the running back waits till the quarterback touches, shuffles over, and he's going to run midline, and he's going to run right off of this little wall right here, okay? In this case, I picked the 0 route, and what I want to do there is I want to get the eyes of this Sam linebacker looking to the outside, so if he's reading this number 3B, he's running a swing, that should hold him just a little bit from coming in for his run support, all right? It also will tell me how they're playing this post by the W, tells me how they want to play the slant. So in other words, if his eyes take him and he to the number 2 receiver from number 3, he's either going to come downhill or he's going to go and then switch with the strong safety. So I'm going to be able to see that before I actually throw the pass, okay? And then we've got the takeoff of the fade by the corner. So I've got 3 pass routes built into off run plays that I've gotten information before that I call a pass play. And I also have 3 play action passes that I could really like off of those. All right? So the last one is outside zone. I never really majored in outside zone. I think that's something you have to practice a lot of, as well as you got to pick between inside and outside. It's really kind of hard to get really good at both. Because they both need a lot of work and practice with your offensive line. And as I mentioned earlier, I coached offensive line for 17 years. But I like outside zone. I think it's a really good play. It works really good against 3-4. So this is 3-4. This is cover 3 again. So if you play a 3-4, these two fit really well for that scheme, okay? So we know that in outside zone, the guy that's covered is going to try to rip and run through the outside shoulder of the man that's covering him, and then the guy inside of him, in this case the right guard, is going to take over his man. So we're going to do that with the right tackle and right guard, and we're going to do that with the center and the left guard. So they're going to take over, and then the center will climb to the will linebacker. So basically when they start seeing the running back running lateral outside, they run right into the right tackle and the center, okay? Backside left tackle, he's got his 18-inch cutoff, so he steps, make sure the 5's not slammed, because we always block the line of scrimmage first, and then he'll climb to the second level to seal any pursuit by the rover. All right? The running back in this particular case, once the quarterback touches the ball, he's just going to turn and run. And then his job is to read this 5 technique, and if he's widened, if he starts widening out, he's simply going to cut it back. If we've got him reached, then he'll take a 90-degree cut and he'll hit it straight downhill. Okay? But he could bend this all the way back. It's a 2-way cut. I've got my 2 route as our pass off of this. We have the B running a post, which should get this Sam linebacker to try to wall him. If the Sam linebacker comes up too quick on that outside zone, then I know I could pull it, and I could throw this play action pass to the post and get that post underneath the free safety, okay? The other thing I want to be able to discern off of this is how the strong safety is going to play this, because he usually reads number 2 to 1, and if his eyes take him from 1 to 2, I can see, once again, if he is going to play this flat area, which would be his flat area in cover 3. If he does that, then I know I should have the dig wide open. So I've been able to have some really good run plays against how they would line up against our 3-by-1 spread, but I've attached my 4 pass plays to these runs that allow me to have good play action passes, and then I could even use them as drop back passes. So besides the runs, you've had an opportunity to see play action passes as well as other passes that I could use to attack with my 3-by-1 spread formation.